All right, this is the number 128, I guess, of my accountability to myself, and I appreciate everyone's attention who watches this. Today, I would like to keep this video shorter, but that's what I'm gonna talking about today. That's why I'm not sure I will be able to keep it shorter, but I tried out the idea and I think it worked out actually. Like record every 15 minutes of my study, what I've done, what I've learned kinda. And actually I wanted to write just 1 2 words to understand what I've learned, but my perfectionism made me to actually write sentences and explain what I've learned. So the first thing, woke up 6:45. I feel sleepy. I always feel sleepy, but for example now and during the day I feel fine. Only always in the morning just feeling like fuck, why did I wake up so early? I could sleep some longer and so on. And then I take cold shower. That's actually probably the hardest part normally per day when I need to wake up at this time and when I need to take a cold shower. Yeah. And so then I started reading a book, and actually I started reading a book before I went to take a shower because I wanted to reflect a bit, and I actually like the idea. The first is that uh, criticism kills the ideas. For example, imagine you have a great idea, not even a great, even a bad idea. Never mind. You have an idea. You came out with it just because you like it, because you actually want to do this, and because of criticism, because of someone's opinion who does not have the same desires as you have about you. Because of his words, you don't do what actually you like. First, you basically don't even belong to yourself. And it's something that I'm trying to convince myself about because for me it works. Sometimes some kind of uh, let's say fear of criticism doesn't allow me to act, and it doesn't happen consciously. I think it happens subconsciously, and I'm trying to convince myself that it does not make sense. If I want to do something, I do this. If I know that it might be profitable, I do this. If I know it's gonna improve me, I basically do this, right? And so just never allow someone to prevent you from your plans, to prevent you from your ideas, I would say. Because it's not about listening to someone, it's not about taking into account someone's idea, advice, it's actually about criticism. When you have an idea, someone says it's bad, it's not gonna work, don't even try it, but you actually want to try it. And so you actually need to try it and say to that person, like, bro, you're not my bro because you don't believe in me. And trust me, the people who are actually your friends or who are actually rooting for you, they will support you. And even the most basic idea that I always give as an example. For example, people are scared to come to the gym because they're afraid of criticism. They're afraid of someone looking at them like, bro, why did you come to the gym? But that's first, it's the point that you come to the gym because you want to improve your body. And so the professional bodybuilder will never hate you for that. He will respect you because he knows what does mean to start. And for example, personally to me, when I see people who start going to the gym, who, like a bit fatty or something like that, I actually respect it because it's like the person decided to change something. And when I see this person regularly in the gym, that's actually that what I respect. Because when I see for the first time, normally I don't pay attention. Then when I see person regularly, uh, I think like, yo, that's nice. This person is actually going to achieve his result, not just waiting for some kind of miracle, right? And it's actually nice. So if you want to try something and if your steps are messy, if your steps are weird, the person who is at the top, he will never judge you because he's focused on his focus, on his aims. He will never be even carried by you. For example, I would say, like, again, in my case, even though I notice sometimes people, like, I might respect it, still I kind of don't care. Like, eventually, in the end of the day, when I leave the gym, I think about my life. When I am in the gym, I think about my life. When I'm training, I feel about my muscles. I feel about my plans. Like that's nice, guys. You can work around if you don't bother me, if you nobody's screaming, it's okay for me. So if you're focused on your goals, actually, if the person is focused on his goals, he's not gonna criticize you because he has an aim and he cannot spread his attention to criticize and obtain his aim because he knows that it will be hard to obtain his aim. That's why, in order to achieve his attainment, he just does some actions in order to achieve it. You know what I mean? And most likely, if the person tries to achieve something, the person knows how hard it is. Most likely, if the person actually tries, and that's why it's one of the reasons. It's second, third reason why the person is not gonna criticize, and only those who don't have anything in their life to do, the only thing to make themselves feel better is to criticize others because they don't improve themselves and they need to find a reason, like I need to hate someone, I need to laugh at someone because it makes my feeling higher. Like I'm not doing anything in this life, but I'm going to laugh at that person, so I'm kind of better than that person, so it's fine. I can keep doing nothing. It's kind of how it works. And actually, I don't want to mention about people who like, yeah, I don't want to mention persons, but it's so noticeable when the person is successful. You just have absolutely another conversation with this person. It's absolutely another level of conversation. And when the person does not do anything in his life, mostly he's talking about others, how others are bad. And to me, I used to do this also a couple of years ago, but I realized like it's like why? Even if I do that person does something wrong, it just I see this through my perspective. I don't understand what that person thinks about. I cannot be right about that. It's my opinion. Like if in my opinion that person does something wrong, that's why I don't do this because I have my life and I decide what to do with my life. So if I think he does something wrong, all right, I'm not gonna touch him. It's his decision. I focus on what I want to achieve. I focus on what I want to get. That's why I never pay attention to criticism. Sometimes there's a tough environment, and all people are like that, but it's another story. And so it was, by the way, it's been 8 minutes of this video and I mentioned about the first line and I have this information. I need to go to sleep though because it's like 10:30 and I need to wake up in 8 hours and I need to lie in my bed and to fall asleep and it takes time. All right. So the next thing, I don't even actually remember what did I write down because yeah, I'm gonna just read and then remember about the ideas. So, oh yeah, you most likely will see 98 out of 100 people who don't know what they want in life. If you ask them what is their aim, most of them are not able to answer. Some of them, if you're gonna force them to answer, are gonna say money, power, and if you ask them to define it, like what do you actually mean, they are unable to do this. Just realize it. Most of the people don't know what do they want in life. they make day-to-day decisions that affect who they become in the future. And they get used to make decisions that made them the type of person who they are today. So if today they don't have, for example, they want a lot of money, right? A lot of money, but they don't have a lot of money. This aim is so vague. You don't actually understand. Your brain doesn't understand how to get closer to this. And because of this misunderstanding, you don't actually get closer. You just keep doing what you do and you stay at the same position that you previously was. Just imagine if you define what you want in this life. If you define clearly what it is, how it looks like, what do you need to do for this? You are already ahead of most of the people. And in the long run, if you stick to this plan, it seems like it's impossible to escape success. For example, it's not about this thing, is just out of my experience, there are a lot of people around who don't even do what is required. Like for me, for example, if I study in university, I'm supposed to execute that stuff, and only after execution, what I do in addition, for me counts as studying, as working on myself, learning skills, and so on. For some people, they cannot even execute the stuff. Like why not? Like people are so lazy, they don't understand what they need to do in order to get what they want, and they just keep doing something because society said it's right, because parents said it's right, because of external validation. But people don't understand what they want. I swear I considered to drop university, but then I started asking myself, why? What are you gonna do instead? I found an answer, but I realized that in the long run, I still need university, so I don't actually need to drop it out. So I actually studied this major. I'm studying because I want to know it. I want to gain those knowledges. That's why each subject I have, I study it. Even if there's something I don't really like, I still keep studying this because I realize it's important for me. And people, for example, just instead of executing tasks that would use ChatGPT just to complete it and pass. But it's not even the point. Like it's alright. What I mean is that people actually, if you think about this, people are not striving for something directly. They are flowing. Some people flow better. Some people flow not that good. It depends how you get used to live your life. And so, even for me, if you ask myself what do I want in this life, I still need to think, I still need to reflect, I still need to make sure, like it's still not really clear, but I understand what direction I need to head to. I understand in general, by and large, what I want to achieve in this life. And I understand by and large what do I need to do every day to get closer. Because I would say it's endless way. And the bottom line is that you're actually becoming better every day, little by little. You cannot see those changes. It's the same if you're going to the gym, little by little, you can see those changes, but in the long run, you have a great body, and everyone says that you have a great genetic. Because a great genetic is normally the excuse, like, you got lucky, you know, like yeah, everyone could do this body if he had like genetics, something like that. But never mind. Just It's very important. And there's also a thing that I put down, that riches do not respond to wishes, they respond to definite plans, backed by definite desires through constant persistence. It basically means if you want to achieve something, first of all, you need to be persistent, and you need to have a plan, and you need to have a plan that is forcing you to act upon this plan, all right? Also, one of the things that I read today about, once you got the idea, create a plan that forces you to act immediately. The sooner you start acting, the bigger chance that you're gonna obtain it, because the longer you wait, the more you don't trust yourself that you're gonna start it, is the first thing. And the second, you find more disadvantages, you find more excuses why to postpone it. And you never need a perfect plan. You just need a first plan. Once you obtain more information, you need another plan that is better than that. And that's basically the path, because the path is so long and you cannot actually understand. You just need to start, and that's it. And the next sentence that I did put down, remember, poor and rich people have the same desires, the difference in deeds. It means everyone wants to be rich, all right? Everyone wants to get money, to have a great significant other, to have great kids, and to be respected, to have a nice house, to have a luxury car. But what are you doing to get this? That's what actually determines this. And to actually do something to get closer, you need a plan. You need to understand what you want to achieve in this life. Upon this understanding, you just build plans. Upon those plans, you build actions. Upon those actions, you gain experience. Upon this experience, you change your plans. And upon those new plans, you act even better. Endless cycle of becoming better and better. And that's the point, because if you have your desire, you can have your, like, I've already given this analogy that, imagine you come to the store, right? Like, you see a pair of shoes, it costs 200 euros, you have 50 euros, and you have a strong desire to buy it, right? You have incredibly strong desire to buy it, and it doesn't matter how long you're gonna stay in the store saying that I will get those shoes, 100%, I know I will get those shoes. Nothing is gonna change. The only thing that's gonna change, probably inflation, and those shoes are gonna become more expensive, and your $50 do not worth those $50 as they were worthy like a couple of months ago, years ago. The same with competition. The more you just stay and say, I want this, I will definitely, I will achieve this somehow. Yeah, I want those man. The more you say, the more time you lose, and the fear competition becomes. Don't think that you're a main character. If you have those ideas, only if it helps you to be more productive, only if it helps you to set higher goals, yes, you can think that way. Because I used to think that my life, yeah, it will happen in the way I want it to happen. When I was 17, when I was 18, I thought, yes, until that age, I will get this. I don't do anything to get this, but I will get this. No. You get only something as a result of acting. This is how the life works. Probably it's hard to imagine, but you're the same organism as any other person on the earth. And the most interesting thing, you have the same organism as Elon Musk, let's say, you can create what he created, you can create something more. Everything depends on you. Everything depends on your perspective. You was not supposed to born unique. You was born to become who you actually can become. That's the point. That's the life. Because you are given the opportunity to build who you see in the mirror by yourself. And the only person who decides who you will be seen in the mirror is you. The only person who decides listen to criticism or not is you. Like, you actually decide everything. Like, think about it. Just think about this. If you complain about environment, about conditions in your life, you find it as a problem. It's not actually like, it might make it harder for you compared to someone in another region, let's say. But still, you find disadvantages. You could find some advantages because each place has advantages and disadvantages, and you could just do something instead. Like, to leave that place, you could do something further. Like, everything depends on your perspective. It's very important. Always try to broaden your perspective. That's it about the book. And then I started studying banking and finance. And so in first 15 minutes, what I've learned is a couple of new words because I was reading an article that I needed to read. And one of them is opaque. I've never heard this word. It's the same as wake, opaque. Then that's the corporations can live forever. It's run by, that's, by the way, an interesting thing. For example, when, all right, so long to explain. There are corporations and they can live forever just because people own shares, and those shares can be traded on exchange markets. And there are some companies that live for 300 years, just like their initial owners are already dead, but the company always goes further due to shares. And if you are talking about corporations, obviously. And the thing is that there are shareholders, the people who own shares, who own the company. There can be millions of owners actually, because if there are millions of shares, millions of people might buy it. It's hard, like it's long to explain how it works afterwards, like how each person is related to that company, what contribution he does. But the thing is that there's no specific owner as a whole. There are shareholders who decide, board of directors. There are shareholders. They appointed a CEO. They appoint a board of directors. That board of directors and that CEO, they manage the company basically. They hire people, they fire people. And that's actually interesting because all the power actually lies in CEO and board directors' hands, not in hands of shareholders. Even though shareholders, they stay above those people who manage the company, still the company depend on those people who manage that company. And so US shareholder have limited liability. So it basically means if if the corporation goes into bankruptcy, you will never be taken away. Your house will never be taken away, for example. So everything you lose is just your investment that you invested in shares. And nothing moves beyond this. No one can come to your home and say, you owe me those money. Like creditors cannot do this. It calls limited liability of shareholders. Yeah, it's like shareholders limited liability, something like that. And so then maximizing profit no longer the only concern. It's for example, let's say normally it's perceived as profit is the only aim of corporation, right? For example, if there's something environmental expenses, and if you can avoid them, and if it's legal, so you do this. But nowadays, there's another perspective. You should be caring about suppliers, employees, customers, environment. For example, you could pay to your employees less, but then they wouldn't be really satisfied, and they wouldn't be creative. They wouldn't be having a desire to provide something for your company. But if they have sufficient salary, let's say, they're satisfied, they're ready to contribute, they're ready to come up with new ideas, they are ready to innovate. So not only, and if you, for example, you care about environment, you might gain greater reputation, which attracts more customers. And so there are more things that you spend on that decrease your profit, but which increase your company's trust, let's say, company's how it's called, the way the company's perceived is improved by those actions, by caring about customers, by caring about environment, by caring about employees. As a result, by the way, might happen agency problem. It basically means, as I mentioned, there are shareholders, they are interested in higher profit. There are managers who can give for the same higher salary, who can give for themselves some bonuses, who can avoid some risks to keep their salary at a high level. And then there's a agency problem, because shareholders cannot, they have different opinion compared to board of directors, to managers, to those who manage the company. And it's a conflict because, for example, those shareholders, they want to care about environment, even though it requires some more expenses, because they want to have better reputation in the long run. And the board of directors decides that they don't need this because it's additional expenses, and if they eliminate those expenses, then their statistic will be better in terms of working or something like that, let's say. And so it's agency problem. Then when you buy stocks, usually company gets nothing. Difference between primary and secondary markets. Yeah, by the way, when the company goes publicly and issuing its shares, they get money only for the first time when you buy shares. Then later on, those shares are traded on markets, and companies are not related to this. It's called secondary markets. So if you buy directly the share from Apple for $15 and then you are trading it on market, someone buys it for 65, you get those 65, and that person pays to you 65 to get that share, and Apple has nothing to do with that. So then we have tulips created first great financial bubble. The price of tulip was higher than the price of a house. It was 17th century, if I'm not mistaken. It was the first example of financial bubble. It's for example, when price for tulips started growing, significantly growing. Everyone invested, everyone said like buy, 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 you know. And it reached to that point that one tulip, one flower, one tulip had a price higher than house. And people kept buying this. And then one night the price went down. Some investors made a bunch of money. Some people lost their fortunes. You can read more about this. I don't actually know that much to talk about it a lot, but you can read about this. It's actually interesting because it explains the idea, for example, how it works with nowadays it's with crypto, with Bitcoin, I would say, because recently it was 127k, now it's 50. I bought it when it was 100, all right. The thing is that, for example, Trump coin, I don't know if someone aware about this, but the last spring, Trump dropped his coin. Everyone started buying this. The price just skyrocketed incredibly. Everyone was buying. Everyone thought it's gonna be higher. And when billions of dollars were invested, they just boom, price just did this, boom. They just sold out everything. Like Trump literally scammed people. I don't know his team, who was behind it, who stand behind this, but it was literally his coin. People made fortunes for hundreds of years ahead just due to this coin, and people were buying this, and a lot of people lost their money. But it's not that much. But the bottom line is that when people buy something without understanding its real value, they buy because everyone buy, and they buy because others make money due to this. For example, with those tulips, imagine there's your neighbor, he bought tulip, he resell it in a couple of days, and he bought a luxury car, Porsche, let's say, Porsche. You would feel like, bro, what? I also wanted the same way. I also wanted that fancy car. I'm gonna buy the tulip. And when you buy this, imagine in one day, maybe in two, you still don't sell it. And then it boom goes down. And imagine you sold your house to buy one tulip. Like that would be crazy. So that's why it's very important to understand the financial system, how it actually works, because you can avoid those moments. And they happen in history from time to time. They happen. So then I don't want to talk about this because it's gonna be so long. Then free cash flow is mine. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's free cash flow. Then studied about banks. Yeah, banks, funds, managers. Yeah, nothing interesting anymore. And I don't want to talk about this more than half an hour in this video. And it's not really that important, but the most important is actually remembering that you know what you want in this life. You keep this idea in your mind, and you know what you do and why, what you believe in. How do you know that information? Why do you think that information is true? Who told you that information? What are you striving for? What is your current plan? What are your first even massed actions? What they are? Are you actually getting the life you want to live, or you're just saying this? Everyone can say it. That's why it's not precious. That's why it's not working that way. Because if everyone could say it and everyone could obtain it, everyone would already do this. In economy, it's called efficient market. If there was an opportunity to become rich overnight, everyone would use that opportunity. So don't look for shortcuts. Figure out who you are and figure out how can you bring more value. What do you actually like? Why do you like it? How can you improve the skill? Who you can pay to which person, who could teach you? Just ask questions to yourself. It's very important. Think about decisions, about daily decisions you do. It's also crucial. All right, I should go to sleep actually. So, without being said, see you in the next one.